In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at these current conditions, diving into that upcoming pattern because there is some big changes coming up. We see most of the activity here is in the eastern United States. Also, most of the cold air is in that United States, the eastern United States that is. And we're going to see all of that kind of switch west at a certain point, and I want to talk about that within this video. We're going to have a lot of major snowfall actually as well out west that we also need to talk about. We can see underneath here, there's plenty of activity happening. We had a cold front roll through last night with this low pressure system, and that's kind of stretching across the Gulf states at this point as well, all the way west into Texas. That cold front, I don't know if it was like this for everywhere, but for Virginia here where I'm from, there was very intense thunderstorms yesterday. A lot of hail actually, so some random severe weather that ended up occurring. Very interesting stuff. Very high precipitation thunderstorms rolled through, and it was just a really interesting October, late October that is, day here in Virginia, unlike anything I've really seen in a long time. That's a lot how this fall has been for the most part, actually. The low overall is over here, and we've seen a lot of snowfall for some of these Ohio Valley states and Great Lakes states. I've seen some videos of accumulating snowfall near the Great Lakes. Very interesting stuff, very heavy snowfall rolling through, and very early season snowfall for the most part around a lot of these parts. Then we can see some heavier showers here in New England. So let's just zoom into these different regions. We'll start with the low. And we can see there's still some snowfall ongoing for the upper and lower peninsulas of Michigan here, but everything else around this area seems to be rainfall. Near Toronto there in Canada, we could see some heavier precipitation. This is in general moving, I don't even know if this is really moving. It's kind of just rotating around at this point, so I'm sure it's going to move eastward at a certain point and move more into New England. We can see where a lot of this lake effect precipitation is taking place in here. So it is in the form of rainfall as far as I know, but it is lake effect precipitation that is taking place. And if this was snowfall, I mean, we would be seeing a major Buffalo, New York lake effect event because that band is quite heavy. But at this point, as far as I know, like I said, this is in the form of rainfall at this point. Now, as we take a look a little bit further eastward here at New England, we can see that the cold front is kind of still around for this area, and it's actually pushing precipitation to the north. So we're seeing a lot of showers move through New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine as well, even up through, or down through, I guess, better yet, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island as well. We're seeing a lot of this precipitation around for these states, and it's probably a warmer day than they've been having for the most part, I would assume. Now, for Texas and New Mexico here, we do have some showers around, especially here in southern Texas. We can see there's some heavier showers taking place here in the very southern parts of Texas, and very isolated showers taking place as far north as Lubbock here in Texas and areas in between, Odessa, areas like that. We can see there's some more organized showers than what we're typically used to here in Florida, especially southern Florida, south of Tampa Bay. In general, we're seeing these heavier showers and thunderstorms begin to move in. Cape Coral, in general, the Everglades regions there in Florida and Miami is probably going to get impacted by these heavier showers a little bit later on. Now, that's all that's happening here. You might notice that basically all of the activity is happening kind of in these areas and outside of these areas. So the north central, the northwest, and the southwestern United States are seeing no activity at this point. That's going to change pretty soon, so what we're going to do is move on, take a look at that upcoming pattern where we will see these areas begin to see a lot of activity. And here we are taking a look at the upcoming storminess. As we continue this onward towards later this afternoon, we can see these kind of scattered about isolated showers around this low are still taking place. In general, it looks a lot like what we're dealing with right now. As we reach Wednesday afternoon, this will be October 19th, we can see this low moves directly northward. Up further north into Canada, we're still seeing some rainfall and snowfall showers around for the Ohio Valley and Northeast at this point, and really, really quiet outside of those regions. As we approach Thursday, October 20th, we can begin to see the first little bits of precipitation trying to move southward here into the western United States, and we'll see this kind of take place, although that one kind of breaks up, and by Friday the 21st, we're seeing our first real snowstorm for the western United States here on this model run. We can see that the cold air has lifted off for the eastern United States, and we're going to start to see the cold air move down into the west. And this is going to be a total flip of the pattern. Around Friday the 21st into Saturday the 22nd, we're going to see this flip taking place. Potential for nor'easter development here offshore the southeast also, it appears. And we're seeing heavy snowfall and heavy storminess in general for the northwestern United States by this point. Really, really stormy conditions By time we're reaching Sunday, October 23rd, we are seeing this low there, again, offshore to the southeast and mid-Atlantic. We see a strong low, and basically it's gone ahead and done this. And typically these storms are the most intense because this horseshoe in the track leads towards hours and hours and hours of snowfall here for the Rockies. So these tend to drop the most snowfall when we see this storm track take place. This does have that specific characteristic. Although it becomes rainfall, it's still very early in the season. 986 millibar low pressure center here over the Dakotas and Minnesota. And we're already seeing our next snowstorm move in. So before the first one is finished, we'll already see the second one moving in. So back-to-back systems here. And then it kind of dries up for just a moment, it seems like. And our third storm is already moving in with snowfall and rainfall, depending on where you're at, for California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Nevada, and probably eventually down through Utah and Colorado as well here. We could see this taking place. This one comes in a little bit more southward, but it's still doing this bit of a horseshoe, and we're seeing snowfall, especially in these spots, all over the place. It will be highly dependent on your elevation, but we're seeing like 3 to 4 storm systems move through the west, and that cold air seems to continuously stick around for these western regions. So it does appear like this will be an entirely, a full flip of the pattern for real. We go from a positive PNA, is what we had, to a negative PNA, and this creates the trough in the west, ridge in the east here. So we see the warm air really just sticking over the eastern 2/3 of the nation, and we see the cool air really moving down for the west. We're stuck in this pattern just like we were stuck in the opposite of that pattern for 2 months. Very, very interesting stuff. Now here is our total precipitation through the next 10 days, and if you're anywhere in the whites, we expect practically no precipitation. Your grays, better yet, will be 1/10 of an inch or less of precipitation. Your greens will be 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. Your blues will be 1/2 an inch to 1 inch. Your yellows will be 1 inch to 2 inches. Your reds will be 2 to 5 inches, and then your browns there will be 5 to 10 inches of precipitation. As far as total snowfall here, obviously a lot is expected out west. And I'll just walk you through these amounts, but this is by far the most we've seen so far this season. Anywhere in the grays, we're expecting a dusting, if anything. Note that we see Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, the Smoky Mountains there, a lot of the Northeast as well. So many of these Ohio Valley states seeing some of those dusting amounts, which means probably flakes, if anything, honestly, for these regions, but still exciting nevertheless. The blues will be 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. Your purples will be 6 to 10. Your pinks will be 10 to 20, and then your pastels there will be 20 to 30. That's going to be your blue pastels in there, kind of light turquoise, bluish colors. Very, very bright colors. And then we see it turn kind of a pinkish pastel, and that is where we're seeing 30 to 48 inches plus. I can say, although I think it's up in Canada, we are seeing 66.6, not a good number there, but that is how much snowfall this model is projecting here in portions of what looks to be northern Alberta there. Perhaps in Canada here, it seems like this is the most we're seeing anywhere, which will be really good for the snowpack leading into the winter. As we get a snowpack building into these regions, as these Arctic air masses move through these areas, it'll be picking up even further cold air as the ground will be frozen. So that's also huge. So I hope that makes sense. Here's the upcoming temperature pattern. Speaking of temperature patterns, again, this is a positive PNA pattern, just to remind you guys. This is where we see the ridge in the west, trough in the east. This is what we've been stuck in, a positive PNA pattern. But as we continue on, we can see this cool down last all the way through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday even, maybe even into Saturday. But by the time we reach Sunday, it looks like it's coming to an end. And this is a negative PNA. We see a big trough for the west, big ridge out east, totally the opposite end of the spectrum, basically. And this has been something that we haven't seen for a few months now. And it is going to feel very warm compared to what we've been seeing. It's going to be unseasonably warm, to say the least. A big, big switch up from what we've been seeing. It sticks warm all the way through the end of the model run here, so we continue to see these persistent Arctic blasts heading into the western United States and big-time ridges heading into the eastern 2/3 of the nation. And that's kind of what we're expecting at this point. Be sure to tune in with us daily as we will continue to update you guys on this upcoming pattern, because really we don't know if this is going to stay like this through November or if we're going to see it switch back to cold in the east. But I do know this, we will update you every single day. So if you subscribe, you will be getting those updates and you won't be caught off guard. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below with your thoughts, and I will see you guys in the next video.